TV shows like Supernatural don't come around often, which means that, when one does, it's worth paying attention. With its mix of horror, mystery, family bonds, and Monster of the Week storytelling, Supernatural carved out a massive and loyal fanbase across its 15 seasons. The series became a cultural institution, thanks to the chemistry between Sam, Jared Padalecki, and Dean Winchester, Jensen Ackles, its mythology-rich arcs, and the sheer emotional weight of its long-running story. For many fans, Supernatural wasn't just a show. It was a weekly ritual, and when it finally came to a close in 2020, it left behind a void that few series have dared to fill. However, one show actually did, and it did so quietly: Nancy Drew. Premiering on the CW back in 2019, this modern, supernatural-tinged reimagining of the classic detective character found its own voice and quickly became one of the network's most underrated series. While it never quite reached the same level of mainstream recognition as Supernatural, Nancy Drew had many of the same elements that made that show so special. Over the course of 4 seasons, it crafted an intricate mythology, introduced a lovable ensemble of characters, and delivered genuinely creepy mysteries. For fans of Supernatural who still haven't given it a shot, Nancy Drew may be the perfect next obsession. Nancy Drew is a hidden gem from the CW. A modern mystery with supernatural twists made Nancy Drew more than just a teen drama. Nancy Drew premiered on the CW in October 2019 and ran for 4 seasons, wrapping up in 2023. Adapted from the Edward Stratemeyer novels by Noga Landor and Josh Schwartz, of the OC and Gossip Girl fame, the series offered a darker, moodier take on the iconic literary sleuth. While earlier adaptations of Nancy Drew leaned into camp or classic mystery, the CW's version brought a supernatural edge that made it immediately stand out. The show quickly established that its version of Horseshoe Bay, Maine was haunted, literally, and that Nancy's cases would often cross paths with ghosts, curses, and other paranormal forces. The cast of Nancy Drew was also incredibly well-rounded. The series starred Kennedy McMahon as Nancy Drew, a whip-smart former teenage detective grappling with trauma and secrets that run deep within her family and her town. Joining her were a tight-knit group of allies who became known as the Drew Crew: George Fan, Leah Lewis, Bess Marvin, Madison Gizani, Ned, Nick Nickerson, Tunji Kasim, and Ace, Alex Saxon. Together, they faced ghostly possessions, deadly mysteries, and long-buried town secrets. What set Nancy Drew apart wasn't just its supernatural elements but the way it balanced them with character development. The show dove deep into themes of grief, identity, and family legacy. While the Mystery of the Week format made it accessible, overarching storylines added depth, keeping longtime viewers hooked. It also wasn't afraid to get weird or scary, often embracing horror more confidently than other CW dramas. What's more, all of this was packaged with slick writing, emotionally complex arcs, and a genuine sense of stakes. Even as it flew under the radar, Nancy Drew built a strong cult following. It blended gothic horror with grounded emotional storytelling, and in doing so, proved itself to be one of the CW's most sophisticated genre shows. Fans of Supernatural will love Nancy Drew. Nancy Drew captured the same mix of paranormal mystery and emotional depth as Supernatural. Nancy and her friends looking scared in Nancy Drew Season 4 trailer. TV shows like Supernatural earned their fandoms by offering something beyond standard monster hunting, something layered, character-driven, and emotionally resonant. That's exactly why Nancy Drew is such a strong spiritual successor. On the surface, it may look like a teen drama retooling a classic detective, but underneath, it's a richly layered supernatural series with deep mythology, emotional character arcs, and a commitment to serialized storytelling. Much like Supernatural, Nancy Drew leans hard into the spooky. The ghosts and supernatural lore aren't window dressing. Much like the demons and foes faced by the Winchester Bothers, the entities haunting Maine are central to the plot and mythos in Nancy Drew. In fact, the show's first season kicks off with a ghost that haunts Nancy and the town of Horseshoe Bay, creating a long-term arc that spans multiple seasons. What's more, just like Supernatural's best episodes, Nancy Drew isn't afraid to kill off beloved characters or dive into unsettling territory. The emotional core is just as strong. While Supernatural centered on brotherhood, Nancy Drew focuses on found family. The Drew Crew becomes a unit in the same way the Winchester brothers had Castile, Bobby, and others. Each character has rich backstories, ongoing emotional journeys, and complex dynamics with the group. Nancy's relationship with her estranged father Carson Drew, Scott Wolf, in particular, carries much of the emotional weight and reflects the kind of difficult family relationships that Supernatural explored. Stylistically, the shows also share a mood, foggy towns, eerie lighting, and a melancholic tone that sets them apart from lighter genre fare. What's more, in true Supernatural fashion, Nancy Drew balances the horror with humor and heart. It's the kind of show that gets under your skin, then makes you laugh 5 minutes later. For fans missing the combination of paranormal thrills and grounded emotional storytelling that Supernatural delivered so consistently, Nancy Drew is one of the best TV shows like Supernatural that you might have missed. Nancy Drew deserved a better fate than its strange cancellation. The abrupt ending felt more like a network failure than a creative one. Grant and Nancy pulling Ace back from the ledge on Nancy Drew. Despite the strength of its storytelling and a passionate fanbase, Nancy Drew was unceremoniously cancelled after its 4th season. The series wrapped in August 2023, but the decision to end it came with little warning. According to executive producer Melinda Hsu Taylor, the showrunners were only informed of the cancellation after they had already written most of the final season, via deadline. This left them scrambling to create a satisfying ending on short notice, something they managed impressively well given the circumstances. The cancellation was part of a broader shift at the CW following its 2022 acquisition by Nexstar. The new ownership cut ties with many of the network's signature scripted series, including Legacies, Stargirl, and The Winchesters, all of which catered to fans of TV shows like Supernatural. In Nancy Drew's case, the cast and crew weren't even allowed to properly promote the finale. HSU Taylor revealed in 2023 that they were told not to go out and promote this as your final season, leaving fans blindsided when the series ended. It's truly a shame, because Nancy Drew was still creatively peaking. Season 4 featured some of the show's boldest swings, most emotional moments, and best horror storytelling. It also gave fans closure on long-running arcs, especially the romantic one between Nancy and Ace, without rushing character development. It felt like a show that still had years of stories left to tell. Still, the 4 seasons of Nancy Drew that exist are still well worth watching. They tell a complete and compelling story, filled with supernatural twists,